21st Century Entrepreneurship with Martin Piskarik.
So what I want to do for you today is tell you the most common mistake that most people make when they are trying to manage their stress and burnout and imposter syndrome. And it's something that's often overlooked, but once you identify it, it can make a huge difference. And then we're going to talk about how you can fix that today. But first, I'm going to tell you a little bit about how one normal drive to work changed everything for me. I was driving to work, and at the time I worked for a large hospital system. I had sold my practice a few years earlier, which was a big business win. But I was looking for a little bit more balance, and I thought that this would be the ticket. But life had some other plans, and after several years of fertility treatments and managing my parents' cancer and working through COVID and being pregnant through COVID and having my son finally, I was exhausted. I was completely exhausted. I was exhausted from caregiving. I was exhausted from the business of healthcare. And I was so guilty for being exhausted and overwhelmed from having this life that we really wanted. And so I'm driving to work, and I'm sitting at the stoplight, and it's quiet the way that a city can be quiet right before it wakes up. And all of a sudden, every fiber in my being just wanted to go home. And I thought, what if I just turned around? And I didn't. I didn't want to quit. I just needed a break. And as I kept driving, I took a breath, and I did what we all do. You know, I took a breath, and I put my big girl pants on, and I showed up to be the professional that we have been trained to be. And as I drove away, I felt like that little piece that you have to set aside of yourself to focus on the here and now, that little piece seemed to disappear. What I didn't know was that those little pieces were building up until one day I literally couldn't get out of bed. This is a true statement. And so I did what most of us do, is I thought, well, I'm the problem, I have the solution. And I changed up my exercise routine, and I changed up my eating patterns, and I changed up my sleeping patterns, and I meditated more. And I thought if I could just do more, I would feel better. And I didn't. And I was cleaning my living room one day, and I saw my SMART program, which is the course that I teach now and was teaching then. But I saw it in a different light. It just caught my eye, and all of a sudden, it all made perfect sense. We are going about this all wrong. When we are dealing with our stress and our burnout, the first thing we do is jump to the treatment before we even have an evaluation and an assessment of what is going wrong. We would never go to the doctor without having an assessment and accept a treatment without a full evaluation. But when it comes to stress management and burnout, that is exactly what happens. We know that in the US, 44% of people are burnt out on a daily basis. We know that chronic stress impacts our physical health, our cardiovascular health. We are more susceptible to heart disease. We are more susceptible to stroke. We are more susceptible to type 2 diabetes and obesity and sleep disorders and GI disorders. We know that chronic stress causes these things. But yet we have so little resources to actually start quantifying where our stress is coming from and where our burnout is coming from, and provide a roadmap and a pathway to be better. And once I started going through this program as a patient and not as a teacher, I realized that as I went through these assessments, some of my root causes were nothing like I thought they were. They were not about exercising more. They were not about eating better. They were not about sleeping better. I needed other things. And once I identified those key components, my whole world opened up and everything changed. And so what we do in the SMART program is just that. It is little bite-sized assessments and treatment along the way that helps you formulate a personalized roadmap based on what you need. And for me, one of the big components was this inner critic voice that I heard that was creating so much stress. And that was leading to this imposter syndrome that I felt every day, not just at work, but also as a new parent. And so as I worked through some of these things in a very systematic way, I was able to clearly identify what the problem was. And then I had the tools to really solve them. And so now I feel so much better. I am able to have the confidence to move forward in my business. I have the energy to be able to be the mother that I want to be and the wife that I want to be. But I also have the focus on what is truly important. And I have the confidence to say no to things without feeling guilty, because I know that my path is set. My name is Dr. Camilla Moore. I am a diplomate at the American College of Lifestyle Medicine. I have been in private practice as a chiropractor focusing on stress-related musculoskeletal disorders for the past 16, almost 17 years now. And I'm also a registered yoga teacher. I am a certified instructor of the SMART program, which is Stress Management Resiliency Training Program that was developed by the Benson Henry Mind-Body Institute at Mass General and Harvard Medical School. So I'm a certified clinical instructor for that. What we want to talk about today is really those three key components that we want when we're talking about imposter syndrome that we want to master: confidence, energy management, and focus. When we're talking about confidence, what we really want to do is we see our stress, we all see what causes our stress, or so we think. But what we want to do is break that stress down to what is the root fear. Because stress is a normal response, and stress is a survival response, and it is supposed to be a very short-term response that we recover from. So when we have that stress response, there is a root fear that is attached to it because it is supposed to be a survival mechanism. So even in our imposter syndrome, when we have lack of confidence, we have to look at what that root fear is. And once you do that, once you can identify what that root fear, then we bring in practices like mindfulness, and we bring in practices like positive psychology, and we can look at that root fear and we can accept that root fear. And once you are at peace with that, then you have the confidence to be able to move about the world in the direction that you want to, whether that is being able to start your own business or build your own business, or whether that is able to start a new job or be a better parent. Either way, you can have that confidence and set those boundaries without feeling guilty, because now you have the confidence to know what your direct path is. When we talk about energy management, what we're really talking about is how do we allocate our energy so that we can not just give, but we also get back. And we have an exercise in our program that I love. It's one of my favorite, and it's called the energy battery. We actually look at your life in terms of energy. What are you giving and what are you getting back? Because when we get burnt out and we get overstressed, we feel depleted. And that is a depletion either of our physiology, where our stress response has depleted our physical body. And that's where we start to see some illness, we start to see some sickness. But we also have burnout, which is the depletion of who we are. That means like what we have been giving, we have not been getting back. So we need to be able to quantifiably evaluate those two aspects so that we can see where we need to improve, where we need to increase the activities that give us those energies, and maybe decrease those activities and those relationships that may be taking from us. The third thing is focus. We get this renewed focus because one, we don't have the fear anymore. Two, we now have the energy to approach our goals, and we can accept, once we accept our fear and we manage our stress, we really can say, okay, what is holding you back? And that creates this renewed sense of focus to go after whatever it is that you want. And for me, that was this business. I wanted to be able to do this. I wanted to be able to have the flexibility to be able to work from anywhere and have the life that my family and I wanted. So here I am, proof in the pudding. But for you, that may be, traveling a little bit more, or even just, being able to make your kids' baseball game because you have to leave work. We had this one patient that took this course, and I'll never forget her. She was a physician and a mom, and she had a big job. She was in charge of the residents at the hospital, but she was also seeing patients, which is what she really loved to do. And she was exhausted, and she never felt like she was really doing a good job at any of it, which meant that she felt so down about herself. And she was also exhausted all the time. And she was doing all the right things. She was doing what I was. She was exercising, she was eating, she was sleeping, all those things, but still felt like she was netting negative. And so once we start really evaluating what her life was and where her energy was going and what she was getting back, she realized that one piece of this job, one piece, which was managing the residents, which was at a very prominent position within the hospital and something she felt she should want, but she realized that that one piece was holding her back from everything. It was impeding her ability to spend 100% of her time and focus with her patients. It was impeding her ability to get home at a certain time so she would be able to be home with her kids for dinner. And it was draining her energy. And once we identified that as the key, she had the confidence, she had the energy, and she had the renewed focus to say, I can't do this job anymore. It's weighing too much on me. And once she let go of just that one piece of her job, everything else fell into place for her. And she felt like she was able to spend the time that she wanted with her patients and the time that she wanted with her family. But without being able to look at her life in a quantitative fashion, she never would have been able to, one, identify that that was the problem, and two, have the confidence to do something about it. But she said it was the easiest decision she ever made. As I mentioned, I am a certified clinical instructor for the SMART program. And this is a very special program because there are very few programs available to the general public that will help quantify and qualify your stress and your burnout and be able to provide evidence-based roadmaps for you to be able to define your life and redefine your balance. And I love this program. And what I have done is I have taken this program and I've put it on demand. So what we get is bite-sized pieces of videos. This is meant for people that have busy lives that really try to find the time for it, but know that they need it. So some of our videos are 5 minutes long. They're usually not more than 15 minutes long, so you can go at your own pace. And every session has evaluations, but then also practices. And there is an in-between session practice that you will have to do. Yes, a little bit of homework, but that is to just get you into this process. We know from science that it takes at least 8 weeks to change behaviors. And so that's how long we plan to do this program, between 8 and 10 weeks, but it's a little bit every day or whenever you have the chance. We also have live sessions every week, so you get to see me every week and have a community of other folks that are right there along with you. And you also have access to me through email. The final thing that is awesome is you also get the official manual, which is over 200 pages, and that's a whole other resource for you. And it has charts in it, and it has tables in it, and it has additional exercises that are not necessarily in this program. So it's a whole additional value that you get within this. So our program has been designed and developed by the Benson Henry Mind Body Institute and the Harvard Medical School. And it has also been researched and proven. And what we have seen when we have gone through research with this program, people on average have over 30%, about 33% improvement in their strength in their stress in just a few weeks. We also see significant increase in health-related behaviors, such as exercise. Your diet will change, your sleep will improve. You will begin to see how you're enjoying your relationships a little bit more. But we also see that translates into true health. So people that go through this program actually have decrease in blood pressure, decrease in their resting heart rate. We see these physiological changes that actually make us healthier going through this program. So there is a great additional value there. We also work with things like positive psychology to help change your mindset. And we're going to actually go through a 5-step process for you in just a moment, where we're going to talk about how to start dealing with imposter syndrome. But we bring in cognitive behavioral therapy techniques and positive psychology techniques, as well as mindfulness and meditation and things like yoga and exercise. So it's a very comprehensive program. And my recommendation is, if you don't know where to start, but you know that you need help, this is a great place to start, because it's an all-in-one, comprehensive, evidence-based, proven strategy to decrease stress and manage your burnout. What I want to do with you today is a 5-step process to start combating and conquering your imposter syndrome. So grab a piece of paper and a pen and start writing this down. If you do not have this, you can get a hold of me through Instagram or LinkedIn. We're going to give those handles at the end here, and you could just reach out to me. I personally will write you back, and we can go through this one-on-one if you want. So number 1, put yourself in that situation where, and it probably happened today. So we need to think of the situation where you had that thought and that feeling of imposter syndrome, that feeling that comes with it, right? That's what we want to tap into. So remember that situation and go back to that situation. It's going to be a little uncomfortable, but you're in a safe space and it's okay to do this. Now, I want you to think about what you were really saying to yourself. So usually there's a dialogue that goes on, one side that's saying, yes, you can, and one side that's saying a version of no, you can't. And so what you need to do is identify what that no, you can't is saying exactly. Then what you're going to do, so that's step 1. Then you're going to play the game. And the game is, what if? So you're going to take that thought and you're going to say, if that were true, what would that mean? Okay, and you're going to look deep inside of you. What would that mean? Then you're going to take that truth and you're going to say, if that were true, what would that mean? And you're going to keep going. Usually it takes about 5 times until you get to that root fear. So I'll give you a quick example. You know, a common one for me is that they're going to think that you're a fraud. They're going to think that you don't know what you're doing. This is something that I hear in my brain every day. And so you take that and you say, okay, if that were true, what would that mean? Right? And so if they thought I was a fraud, what would that mean? That would mean that I would be rejected. Right? I would be rejected and ostracized. If that were true, what would that mean? That would mean that I wouldn't be able to provide for my family. Well, if that were true, what would that mean? Well, if I couldn't provide for my family, I would be all alone. And there you have it, that fear of being alone. That's the fear that's causing the criticism. Just identifying that is powerful. Then that's your root fear. That's your third step. Then we practice acceptance and mindfulness. And this is where practices of meditation come in very handy, because the more you can meditate, the calmer your brain is going to be, and the easier it's going to be to accept this in a mindful way without judgment. So once you can say, yeah, I'm really afraid of being alone, then we can reframe. And instead of saying, I'm afraid of being alone, you can say, look at all of the family that I have around me that supports me, and I'm never going to be alone. And you can start moving forward with that confidence instead. So 5 steps: listen to the words, play the game, the what if game. 3, root fear. 4, acceptance. 5, reframe it. Reframe it into a positive. And once you start practicing this, then you're going to be able to, the easier it becomes. It's like a practice like anything else. Mindfulness meditation is a practice like anything else. The more you do it, the better you become at it, and the easier it is. I don't not have these thoughts. I have these thoughts every day. But I am now able to work through this like that, sit with it for a minute, feel the uncomfortableness, and then I just move through it. And that's the goal. It's not to shut it down. It's to just let it be without judgment. And once you can do that, then you're going to feel much more in control and much more powerful and much more confident. And that's going to give you a focus to get to where you need to be. If you want to find out more, you can go to my website, www.thewellnesscabinet.co, not com. The easiest way to get a hold of me is either on Instagram. My handle is Dr. Camilla Moore, DrCamilla Moore. You can find me there, or in LinkedIn. Either of those 2 places are the easiest way to get a hold of me, and I promise I'll write you back. We do have a few freebies, one of which is actually this 5-step imposter syndrome process that I'm going to give you in a PDF. So if you do want that, just find me on Instagram, DM me, find me on LinkedIn, send me a message, and I will send that to you for free.
21st Century Entrepreneurship with Martin Piskarik.
Imagine a space where triumphs, trials, and tales of entrepreneurship come alive. Welcome to the 21st Century Entrepreneurship Podcast, a gold awarded journey hosted by Martin Piskarik, connecting with listeners in 95 countries and ranking in the top 0.5% of all podcasts. Join our exclusive community, elevate your perspective, and embark on the path to success.